Hi class, today we're going to do Module 1, Lesson 3, and we're going to talk about factors. And factors are probably things you haven't heard of before, but you know how to use them already because we've been doing it in the first two lessons. They are just the things that you multiply together, the size of the group and the number of groups. Let's take a look a little more closely at what that's going to look like. And I'll share my whiteboard with you to get started. So we talked a lot about size of group and the number of groups. So for example, we might have a set of things like this. I have 3 groups with 4 things in each group. And we've learned that we can then take these 3 groups with 4 things in each group and turn that into an array. Each row is going to represent one group. So we have the first row, the second row, and the third row. There we go. So our array is composed of 3 rows with 4 things in each row. It's a 3 by 4 array. And we'd represent that with a multiplication sentence by saying 3 times 4 equals 12. And remember, to get that 12, you can count all, which means you can count everything on here. That's going to take some time. It's not the most efficient way to do it, but you can do it that way. You can group count, so you could say 4, 8, 12, or you could go 3, 6, 9, 12. Either of those are fine. Or, over time, we're going to learn these multiplication facts, and you'll eventually just know that 3 times 4 is 12. So the key here is that we know we have to have the same number of things in each group, and we multiply that by the number of groups we have. And our 2 things here, our 3 and our 4, are our factors. So you've already been using factors without even knowing it. Factors are the size of the group and the number of groups in multiplication. I'll write that out for you in a sentence. The size of each group and the number of groups. In multiplication. Let's do one more example like that, and then we're going to learn tonight how to use number bonds in multiplication as well. So let's go to our next page. Sorry, I keep looking to the right, but that's where my computer screen is. And when I'm writing on my tablet here, the only way to know what's happening is to see my screen. So we are going to start with 6 groups. And there are going to be 3 things in each. So put 3 X's in each group. Okay. And once we have that, we can then turn this into an array. Change colors here. And because we have 6 groups, that means we need to have 6 rows. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows. And I know because each group has 3 in it, that each row also has to have 3. So 1 for my first row, 2 in the middle, and then a third. Again, remember when you're doing multiplication, it's really important, it's critical that you have the same number of things in each group. If any group has more or less than the other groups, you can't perform multiplication. So now we have 6 groups with 3 in each group. So our multiplication sentence will be number of groups times the size of each group. And that is going to be 18. And I can find that out by either, again, counting all of them, or counting by 6s, going 6, 12, 18, or counting by 3s, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. Or again, eventually you will learn your multiplication facts and just know that 6 times 3 is 18. And again, that 6 stands for the number of groups. and the 3 stands for the size of each group. And we call the 6 and the 3. I'll change colors one more time. Here we go. We call the 6 and the 3 factors. Again, factors being the number of groups and the size of groups in multiplication. The other thing you need to know eventually, and I'll tell you now to get a head start on it, is the answer in multiplication is called a product. So the answer, the result, is called a product. Now let's go one step further. I've showed you how to do it in groups. I've showed you how to do it with an array. I've showed you how to do it with a multiplication sentence. And let's go one step further and look at a number bond. And number bond is something you're really familiar with. You've used it a ton, kindergarten, first and second grade, for addition and subtraction. And it's similar to how you used it in those things when you do it with multiplication, but it's also slightly different. So let's take a look at that same thing we just did. We had 6 times 3 equals 18, and I'll draw a number bond for it. So 18 is my answer. That's the thing that goes in the middle, just like if you were doing an addition number bond. 6 was my number of groups, my factor that was the number of groups. And so when you do a number bond, the number of groups is like the number of branches that comes off the center here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 branches or 6 groups coming off there. Each branch gets a circle at the end. And we're going to fill those in. That was a weird looking circle. With the size of each group. And the size of each group in this problem was 3. So we'll put a 3 in each of these. And again, because it's multiplication, all of these groups have to be the same size. All these numbers have to be equal to each other. And this number bond is representing 6 groups with 3 in each group. Let's do one more example of those because I know this is very new to you. And we'll do 5 times 4 equals 20. So that means I have 5 groups with 4 in each group. So when I draw my number bond, I'll put my product or my answer in the middle. I'll make 5 arms coming off or 5 branches coming off because there are 5 groups, which is shown by this first number here. And then I know that they're going to be an equal number in each group. And in this case, it's going to be 4 because that's what our multiplication sentence tells us. All right, so this number bond, again, shows 5 groups because there are 5 separate arms coming off of my total. And each group has the same amount in it, which is critical for multiplication. And the size of each group is 4 in this case. So to review one last time, when you have a multiplication sentence, the 2 things that you multiply together are called factors. Again, that's a new word to you, but the idea of using them is not new because you've been doing that all along. So the number of groups and the size of those groups are the factors in multiplication. And that's really the key point in this lesson, is that you learn what that term is and you really understand that to multiply things, you're looking at the number of groups that are available and the size of those groups. Again, if you have any questions, please let me know and I'm happy to go over it again.